Has it been a while since a horror movie really got under your skin? Have you been looking for a horror film with brutal, bone-crushing violence? Or do you prefer an uncomfortable experience with limited jump scares and hereditary style of imagery? Well, good thing Talk to Me came out because it's the best of both worlds. It sure satisfied my horror needs, maybe a little too much. And if you're a horror fan, this is automatically a must-watch. Now, don't worry, the review will be completely spoiler-free. I don't like spoiling things anyway. I want you to enjoy every surprise that the movie has. In case you haven't seen it, now here we go. The story is about a group of friends that discover how to conjure spirits by using an embalmed hand. They become hooked on the thrill until one of them unleashes terrifying supernatural forces. Oh my god, this fly is testing my patience. It's a pretty straightforward story and it sounds like something you've probably seen before, but I'm telling you, the way they executed the scares and the story is unlike anything I've seen before. I'm gonna get my positives and things I loved out of the way first because there's a lot to love here, and then we'll go into any negatives. Now, I wanted to start by mentioning the directors because they had their start on YouTube. I wasn't really sure how to pronounce their name, so I had to look up a bunch of interviews and stuff like that. And it's Michael and Daniel Philippou. I hope I'm saying that right. They have a YouTube channel called Raka Raka, which was infamous for like how violent their content was. And I even remember watching their Marvel vs. DC video like 8 years ago or something. And it was, that alone was so good. And I'm just imagining what they could have done with a huge budget. Talk to Me is nothing like their work on YouTube. It's very different. And it doesn't have a huge budget, but they didn't need one for this movie. But now I'm actually hoping to make more movies like this. I'm telling you, they killed every aspect of the horror in this film. It helps a ton that most of the actors give amazing performances and sometimes scary performances, like when they're possessed. The highlight for me is Sophie Wilde, the main character. But in those scenes, man, like they don't happen often, but once they do, you're either covering your mouth or your mouth is on the floor, or you're frozen in fear or just wondering, what the hell am I watching? Talk to Me is excellent. And it's a movie I had to let sit with me at least for a couple of days before doing this review because it's very disturbing. The movie mainly has a very mean spirit. It almost feels like a bully, its own entity. It attacks characters that have done nothing wrong. It pulls no punches, even though in the beginning it may make you feel like it might pull some punches. So because of that, you learn pretty quickly that it's an unpredictable movie, which makes the watching experience uneasy, but that's the goal. That's what you want from this movie. So is it the scariest movie of the year, like most people are asking? Now, before I answer that question, I need you guys to like the video, and if it's your first time discovering the channel, subscribe. It'll really help so you don't miss out on future videos. Let's get back to it. In my opinion, yes, absolutely. It's the scariest movie this year, and I haven't been this startled and disturbed probably since Hereditary. Like I said, I had to let this movie sit with me so I could just get my thoughts straight, because walking out of it, I just remembered feeling so like this negative energy had latched onto me and just wouldn't let go. It's scary to me because it's actually kind of a quiet movie. We have multiple scenes dedicated to our main character, Mia. It helps us understand like what's going on in her head at this stage of her life. And they do an amazing job of making you care for her and some of her friend characters as well. So when certain horror scenes happen, it's not like they came out of nowhere. You're watching a horror movie, but they're so realistic and brutal, but that they kind of feel like they're coming out of nowhere. The visual effects and especially the practical effects are so realistic. They were fantastic. They really sell the violence of what's happening on screen. It's almost like the directors were almost daring you to look away from the screen at times. Like there are certain moments that are begging you to look away from the screen. Now, I don't want to go into too much detail about the spirits or the ghosts or whatever you want to call them, because they had many surprises that I wasn't expecting because they weren't shown in the trailer. So thank you for the marketing department for not spoiling, so I won't spoil. All I'm gonna say is they really have their own unique look. Like I haven't seen spirits, I guess, look that way in other movies dealing with ghosts and stuff like that. Now, there's a specific scene I wanted to mention which was so fantastic, and I don't want to spoil it, but it was my highlight of the movie. It just had a perfect blend of emotion and tension and brutality that I just love. The movie sets up a very simple rule which has been shown in all the trailers, which is basically that once you let the spirit inside you, sounds very wrong.
What do you mean by that?
You have about 90 seconds before someone has to blow the candle out and basically close the door to the spirit world. However, if you let them stay with you for more than 90 seconds, I think it was 90 seconds, then there's a chance they may stay with you forever if they want to. Obviously, for the movie to go into full horror mode, someone needs to fuck up and allow it to go on for more than 90 seconds. I was just really afraid going into this movie that they would just have a character randomly mess up and like not pay attention to the timer and be like, oh no, guys, we forgot, blow out the candle, blow out the candle. That would be really dumb. No, thankfully what they decided to do was super smart. It was emotionally charged, and when that scene happens, you'll know what I'm talking about. I almost wanted to cry when the scene started, and then it gets a little more intense. I felt emotional and tense at the same time, which is very hard to do. So bravo to the directors for making such a tense, tight, compact horror experience that's like 95 minutes long. It's crazy to think that this is their first movie. Technically, they had their start on YouTube, so they've had like plenty of practice. But if you're watching this movie not knowing this is the first movie, you'd assume that these directors have had multiple movies in their filmography already. For me, it already stands out as one of the best directorial debuts, especially for a horror film. The other two that I can think of right now is Get Out with Jordan Peele or Hereditary by Ari Aster. I've been really trying to think of negatives for this movie, and it's not that it doesn't have any. It's not a perfect movie, but there's nothing that like truly stands out to me as like a big negative that will hurt it so much. Maybe on a rewatch I'll catch a couple of things, but I don't know. It does have a perfect ending. It has a perfect ending. That ending is killer. Holy shit. I didn't expect it. Someone might, but it was so fucking well done, and they knew when to end their movie, which is hard to do, especially for a horror movie. I was so scared that they would go a certain route where a lot of horror movies end it with a very metaphorical, ambiguous ending, and then you have to look up a bunch of ending explained videos and you still don't fucking understand what the ending was. This wasn't the case. So while watching it, nothing really took me out, but I think I'd be comfortable giving it a 9 out of 10. Well, there you have it, guys. This is the first movie review I've done on the channel, and I definitely want to do more. I know this is super late, and I watched Oppenheimer and Barbie just recently, which is super late. Hopefully I'll do a movie review with Oppenheimer with my friend because I saw it with him. But yeah,